It's 1989. An oil tanker owned by Exxon Shipping Company spilled 11 million gallons of crude oil into the ocean. Tim Berners-Lee, a British scientist, invented the World Wide Web. Thank you. And PewDiePie was born. In this series, I break down my list of the top 10 movies for every year of my life. In 1989, I was 1 year old and still a poopy baby. So if I haven't seen a movie that should be on my list, make sure you yell at me in the comments below and I will watch it. Like and subscribe and ring the bell, you know the deal. Number 10. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Two seemingly dumb teens set off on a quest to prepare for the ultimate historical presentation with the help of a time machine. Bill and Ted, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves respectively, are dumb headbangers who dream of worldwide rock star stardom with their group, the Wild Stallions.
Excellent!
But in reality are failing a history class and have the threat of military school over their head. They need to pass history, and to do so, they're going to need to give an epic presentation.
Guys, your report had better be something very special.
Only a miracle could help. That or a time machine. Bill and Ted go on an excellent adventure through time and space, a film that exemplifies how comedies looked and felt back in the 1980s. As a hilarious science fiction farce, this film's ludicrous premise succeeds surprisingly well.
Party on, dude.
Reeves and Winter have great on-screen chemistry and deliver amazing performances that are hilarious. Plus, George Carlton is outstanding.
Greetings, my excellent friend.
Stephen Herc's direction is great, the cinematography and the pacing are very well done. Despite a couple of jokes landing flat, this movie is consistently funny.
You've got plenty of time!
The film's soundtrack, as well as the music score composed by David Newman, are both excellent. Watch this movie, you won't regret it. Be excellent to each other and party on.
69, dude!
Number 9. Roger and Me. Director Michael Moore pursues GM CEO Roger B. Smith to confront him about the harm he did to Flint, Michigan with his massive downsizing.
We are announcing the closing of 11 of our older plants.
Roger and Me brings harsh criticism of the greed permeating the American corporate culture.
This is? All right.
But listen, who just want to talk to you?
Roger Smith. I want to talk to Roger Smith.
Michael Moore is entertaining and thought-provoking, bringing his distinctive style to this documentary, which is a satirical look at greed and indifference. Witnessing Roger Smith dodge the cameras is hilarious.
We will try to have someone get back in contact with you.
Moore's personal ties to the hometown makes this documentary a personal project, and you feel that narrative throughout this film. Moore was able to capture the personal effects of that plant closing on everyday people and that entire community in a powerful and thought-provoking way. A documentary packed with heart and humor.
Hopefully it's just temporarily.
Number 8. All Dogs Go to Heaven. The only animated film on my last list of favorite movies of 1988 was The Land Before Time, also directed by Don Bluth. Now, I have not seen All Dogs Go to Heaven in a long time, and I thought it would have ranked much higher on my list. However, after rewatching it, I was less impacted on it as I was when I was a kid, and I think that's by design. This movie is a trip, especially for kids.
Welcome to being dead.
What?
A cartoon that tackles the subject matter of gangsters, murderers, death, redemption, family, and talking animals.
Shut up.
This film is so unique in its approach that it stands out over other cartoons as a gripping tale about choices and consequences. And after watching it, you'll never look at clocks the same way again. Number 7. Glory. Glory tells the true story of an often overlooked chapter in American history, the Civil War, particularly the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, which saw extensive service in the Union Army during the American Civil War.
If you boys just turn right on around, head on back down that way, and you let us head on up there where the real fighting is.
Based on the personal letters of Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, this is an engrossing drama that's very thoughtful and a powerful story. The power in this movie comes with its perfect casting, direction, and score. The battle scenes are especially impressive with the cinematography. Glory is 30 years old, but it doesn't feel dated at all. There are a few movies that have ever made me cry, like if you want a list like that, but Glory would definitely be on it. It's powerful, it's thought-provoking, it's emotional, it's heart-pounding, and it's a must-watch film. Number 6, Dead Poets Society. A maverick teacher, played by Robin Williams, uses poetry to embolden his boarding school students to new heights of self-expression.
What will your verse be?
I first watched Dead Poets Society in high school, one of those movie days where the teachers would wheel in the old TV. It stuck out to me because I usually check out on these days, but I got sucked into this movie. And this film altered my perspective to things to a degree. I was just another high school kid who hated English. Now I write YouTube videos and movies and review movies. Although I thought it was funny when I was watching this movie, I wished I had a teacher like that. I don't even remember my high school English teacher's name, but he did have a great taste in movies. William delivers a perfect performance. It's inspiring, it's memorable, as he did every time he was on screen. And I guarantee you his films will be topping my list for years to come as I list the top 10 movies of every year of my life. Dead Poets Society is well-paced, features solid acting, it's funny, charming, satisfies intellectually as well as emotionally. A must-see film. I hope they're still showing it in high school classes. If not, wheel in the old TV. Seize the day and make your life extraordinary. Number 5. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The scientist father of a teenage girl and boy accidentally shrink his and 2 other neighborhood teens to the size of insects. Now the teen must fight dangers as the father searches for them. This film is a classic, and I've always heard that, yet somehow I missed it. I watched it for the first time for writing this review, and I love it. Before everything was CGI, they created an enormous world of backdrops and props that made a backyard feel like the size of a city. They used a lot of ingenuity to get this done. For instance, for the scene in which miniaturized Nick drops into a bowl of Cheerio cereal, a tank was filled with 16,000 gallons of a milk-like substance made from chlorinated water, food thickener, and pigment. The Cheerios were made from tractor inner tubes, 12 feet in diameter, coated with foam and painted. It's awesome. What I love about this is it's such a huge, epic in scope adventure, all in the backyard. They pulled out all the stops on this adventure, from running from the lawnmower to riding bees. They made friends with an ant before it was cool and got to eat a giant oatmeal cookie. Rick Moranis is great, and so is the rest of the cast. A movie that will have you stop for a second and appreciate the small things. Number 4. Back to the Future Part 2. After visiting 2015, Marty McFly must repeat his visit to 1955 to prevent disastrous changes to 1985 without interfering with this first trip.
Creating an alternate 1985.
I was sure this movie was going to be on my list. I rewatched this trilogy at least once a year. Now, after a movie as enjoyable as Back to the Future Part 1, a new installment was going to be a tall order. However, director Robert Zemeckis demonstrates he is up to the task, and it's not going to be an easy one, with one of the main actors from the first movie, Kristen Glover, deciding not to return. Also, the whole time paradox thing, but somehow they made it all work, and Part 2 is the perfect sequel. I particularly like the attention to detail which connects this movie closely to the first movie. For instance, the ledge on the clock tower that Doc broke in the first movie in 1955 is still broken when Marty travels to 2015.
Kid, that's an important historical landmark.
Also, Marty looks in the window of an antique store where we see the denim jacket that he wore in 1985, a Roger Rabbit doll, and a 1987 Jaws Nintendo video game, which ironically are antiques now. So this scene is funny for a different reason than it was in 1989. It's funny watching what 1985 thought 2015 was going to be like. No hoverboard or flying cars, but we do have flat screen TVs.
24 hours a day. You're tuned to the Scenery Channel.
It's like I'm in the future of 2015.
I'm in the future.
We of course get the return of the amazing cast. Michael J. Fox is hilarious. Christopher Lloyd is quirky, unique, and extremely quotable.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
And Thomas F. Wilson returns to play Biff in a way that is, well, presidential. The DeLorean returns, this time it flies, and yes, someday I will have a DeLorean. I love that car. Back to the Future Part 2 is an incredible film with a fully realized story, wonderful characters, and extremely talented cast. It's a sequel to the original that exceeds in its own originality. Number 3. Do the Right Thing. On a street in Brooklyn on the hottest day of the year, everyone's hate and bigotry smolders and builds until it explodes into violence. Spike Lee's masterpiece, Do the Right Thing, is a perfectly developed character study of a wild range of personalities dealing with the same inner struggle. Now, as I'm writing this, I am hoping that you have already seen it, because Do the Right Thing should not be summarized, it needs to be experienced. The story is made engrossing by the rich dialogue and innovative cinematography, perhaps the best case study of racism ever made.
I know your mamas and your papas raised you better.
The story of boiling racial tension on a hot summer day in New York is a great way to explore the subject, as the rise in tension is palpable. Not a typical movie, as there is no bad guys or good guys, just a mix of diverse, troubled characters.
No.
Lee addresses the sensitive subjects in a remarkably tactful manner. This film would be impossible in the hands of any other director. A film about people doing wrong to others and having wrong done to them until it just becomes too much and explodes into tragedy and violence. And the message is clear. You've got to do the right thing. Number 2, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. In 1938, after his father, Professor Harry Jones Sr., goes missing while pursuing the Holy Grail, Professor Harry Indiana Jones Jr. must find himself up against Adolf Hitler's Nazis again to stop them from obtaining its powers.
More than he needs. Brody's got friends in every town and village from here to the Sudan. He speaks a dozen languages, knows every local custom. He'll blend in, disappear. You'll never see him again. With any luck, he's got the Grail already.
Indiana Jones, the man, the legend, the whip. Everyone I know was seeing the Indiana Jones movies, but I had not. But when we were searching movies of 1989, this kept popping up. I figured I would just leave it off the list. After all, I haven't seen every film from 1989. I'm sure if I did, then my list would be very different. But I figured in fairness, I must watch it. It seems to be topping everybody's list. And I'm glad that I did, because I feel like now that I've seen it, my list would feel like a failure to not have included it. In this, the third part of the story, we get to know the backstory of Indiana Jones as a setup to meet his dad, played by the late, great Sean Connery.
We'll find out.
Who passed away a week before writing this, and it was a treat to get to watch a new performance of his that I had not seen. The chemistry between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford is hilarious and legendary, a true action adventure, with all the elements to love. Nazi bad guys, awesome action, relatable and funny character moments, but what makes this movie so good is it makes it cool to be smart. It is intelligent, something I feel films like The Da Vinci Code and National Treasure tried to emulate. The ultimate action adventure movie, and Spielberg's most Spielberg film. If you're a fan of Spielberg movies like I am, then you will love this. My only regret is how long it took me to watch it, but now I know what everybody was gushing about. Number 1, Batman. The Dark Knight of Gotham City begins his war on crime with his first major enemy, the clownishly homicidal Joker.
Let's broaden our mind.
Dark, imposing, hugely engaging, Batman changed superhero movies forever. Tim Burton is back on my list, this time as number 1 as he brings us one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. And the casting as Batman, Michael Keaton, is perfect. Michael Keaton is Batman.
I'm Batman.
The world building is epic in scale, and the city of Gotham seems to be ripped straight off the page and into the film, with a bit of Tim Burton flair added. It's cartoonish, yes, but in a stylistic and creative way that plays homage to the comic book. The Joker is one of Hollywood's most memorable villains, and Jack Nicholson does a great job portraying him as a deranged and manic killer. It's interesting to me how the character of the Joker has gone on to inspire some truly incredible and memorable performances by top-notch actors. In the right hands, the character is extremely gripping. Jack Nicholson almost turned down the role and was offered to Robin Williams. Just imagine what he could have done with the character. But Nicholson makes this performance iconic.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
This movie is filled with some epic Batman moments, a definitive Batmobile, and a stellar cast. Michael Keaton plays a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne, bringing intensity, depth, and edge.
Come on, let's get nuts.
Danny Elfman delivers a legendary score to this landmark comic book film. This movie was a huge part of my childhood. I still love every frame. This is why Batman is number 1 on my list of best movies of 1989. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you would like a full review on any of these movies. I'm just starting out on YouTube and need some feedback, so please help my channel grow by smashing that like button in the smithereens and ringing some sort of bell, I think. And of course, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, be risky.